having. When it comes to legacy, what do you want your legacy to be? So for the next 2 minutes, think on it. You can write it down. You can put it on your phone. And then whoever is bold enough, I'm going to give about 3 people a chance to share what they want their legacy to be. Let's get on with it. 2 minutes, we sample that, and then we get down to the conversations around legacy, diversity, and inclusion, and equity. Let's get down to it. One minute. Okay, I'm ready to sample some of your thoughts when it comes to legacy, and I'd like people to volunteer themselves. Please raise your hand if you'd like to start off the conversation on legacy. Thank you. Please start by telling us your name, what you do, and then about legacy.
Good morning, everyone. I am Regina Anyika. HF Group, PLC. I am the COSEC, the company secretary there. In terms of legacy, what I would like to do is impact, just to be remembered as someone who has touched the lives of those that I have interacted with. This is actually something that I have been really thinking about because some of us are sort of nearing retirement. And of course, thoughts about how you will be remembered are really topmost on your mind. So at the family front, I have young adults. My firstborn is 25, my lastborn is 23. In terms of legacy, I'd like that I have brought up strong, principled children. I have 2 girls. They are both in tech. And for me, the legacy, or what I'd like them to speak to when they think about their mom, is that I have been there for them and that I have raised strong, principled children. My colleagues, or my direct reports, and the colleagues that I work with, I would like to be remembered as that person who mentored and allowed them to grow into themselves, into their next thing. So that for me is something that would give me a lot of joy. For the planet, I would like to have touched the lives of those that I interact with. I am the chair of a small high school, a girls' high school. And some of the things that I would like to be remembered by that board of management at that school is having steered the board and having left a lasting impact on those girls that we take care of every day, those that are less fortunate than I am. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I like how you've tied it into the professional, the personal, and even the environment impact. Growing strong ladies, making a positive impact on your environment. Who else is going to share what they want their legacy to be? There. Eunice, I'd like you to help me, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Chengo. Thank you for this opportunity. And yes, what legacy do I want to leave? First of all, I'm currently serving in a number of boards because I'm very passionate about governance matters. And I'm also in Global Ignite, igniting people, and primarily to help people integrate their personal, professional to their spiritual life to attain the balance. And once you attain that balance, then the understanding is that you'll take care of the planet and you will lead with governance and, with justice and righteousness, and therefore profit will be a guarantee. Yeah, so I'm a mother of 5, 3 young adults and 2 school-going ones. And clearly, yes, I can't export what I don't have in my house. So yes, the emphasis is molding my children to reflect what I stand for and exporting it to, I also train marketplace leaders to integrate their spiritual into their 2 arms and as well as a global, in some global movement. And when I'm here now, I've learned a lot in this forum, and I thank God for this opportunity, and I really appreciate the women on board. Thank you.
Thank you. You cannot export what you don't have at home. I like that. A final comment on legacy. One more person, please. One more person wants to share on legacy.
Put it nice
Rose.
so I can see. Okay.
Good morning, ladies. For me, it's just one thing, leadership. I'd like to leave a legacy of leadership that counts, that impacts, and leaves a trail of people who would want to lead in future and impact in ways that add value to not only where they're leading, but to a larger community. So, and this, by this I mean, do we lead with empathy? Do we really understand? Do we see people for who they are? Do we get them? Do we appreciate every day when they come in and they want to contribute whether to your business in every space they are in, that they genuinely mean well? So that is an area that I'm really passionate about, and it's something that I would really want to contribute towards. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Julia. Do you see people for who they really are? Important. Thank you so much. Now, I'd like us to get into a conversation around diversity and inclusion. And this is a catalyst for transformation. And to take us through this conversation, we're going to have, for those who weren't here, let me change this mic. Thank you. For those who haven't been here the last 2 days, we've been having very thrilling conversations, and I'd like to invite into stage a lawyer par excellence, really. She's a governance expert, and she's come up with codes for so many organizations. FCS, Catherine Sakali, please put your hands together.
Thank you, Claire. Good morning, everybody. The story of diversity and inclusion and equity goes back to 2015, when I was asked to lead the development of the various codes of corporate governance. And it started with Mwongozo. And we put together Mwongozo, and something clicked in me and said, where are the women? Yes, the Constitution talks about not more than 2/3 should be of the other gender. And then we were asked to put together the Code of Corporate Governance for listed companies. Now you see the person I was meant to speak with has just arrived. He just did this to me, yeah? And again we put there that boards must be diverse. And I kept on asking people, why are your boards not diverse? And I used to get two answers, two responses. Where do we find the women? Where are they? I'm like, hey, Kwani, I'm not even here. And the second one was, Catherine, even that one woman we have on our board does not speak. Why do you want us to have another one? And I said, I'm tired. I'm dead tired about hearing this response. Calvin, come and join me. Eh? Rose, where are you? Nkirote, where are you? We've got to correct this. So that is how the Women on Boards Network was born. It was basically about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And many times we talk about diversity, but we don't talk about equity. It's quite one thing to have a diverse board, but if you don't feel included, then you don't add value. You cannot transform. On to the next slide, please. And I just want to define the terms for us. So diversity, and please note that I have included one other. Did you note I have included one other? Absolutely, because unless you belong, you don't add value. And so diversity is about all of us are born different. Even in your own family, you have children who are so totally different. And the way you treat one child is not the same way you treat the other. And when you look at studies across the world, you will find that those companies that have diverse boards outperform those that don't have diverse boards. It is actually a business imperative. There was a time in the US when people refused to use Uber. Why? Because they did not see that Uber was including women. What is equity? And equity is very often confused with equality. And we have got to make the distinction. Equity is about all being treated fairly and all having the resources they need to succeed in their role. Equality, on the other hand, and this is where we get it wrong, women, equality, on the other hand, is giving everybody the same thing. And if we give you all the same thing, you may not succeed, because perhaps that's not what you need. And this is where we start to talk about giving women, more, so that we can reach a point where we can be on the same platform with men. So here we are talking about equity. What do women need in order for them to succeed? If I'm short, of course I am, right? And I'm not alone, right? And you put me here with, I don't know who's tallest in the room, same platform, and you tell us, oh, I'm told it's Honorable Osiani, okay, my brother. And you tell us to reach that ceiling, both of us at the same level. He might be able to do it, I may not. Perhaps I need a higher platform in order for me to reach there. So that is why equity is important, not equality. Equity. right? Inclusion, that once you have brought me to the dance, please allow me to dance, right? Don't bring me to the dance and expect me to be a spectator sitting there and just looking at people. Let me dance. Aki, yesterday I danced. Whoa. You guys all went to sleep. You missed the memo. The animation team told you that at 9 there will be dances at Cocoa Beach. I went there and I was all alone dancing and I didn't care. So everyone must be appreciated and recognized for their talents. And then belonging is when you get onto that board, do you feel like a flower girl? Or do you feel that you belong so that you add value to the organization? What am I saying? That boards must be diverse, boards must have equity, boards must include women, and the women must feel that they belong in order for them to add value. To the next slide. And so, next slide please. And so when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, every board, and I say this to every board that I advise, even those boards that are predominantly male or predominantly female, I tell them, you're missing out. If you're predominantly male, you're missing out. If you're predominantly female, you're missing out. So we cannot be preaching this gospel and not drinking from it. And so if you have an all-female board, please think about it as well. You know, I have sons, so I have to talk about my sons as well. Eh? So one fundamental for building an effective board is DEIB. And I know this term in the US now, people are shying away from it. We don't live for the US, do we? We live for ourselves. We know what is good for us. And so as we build our teams, as we build our boards, we must make sure that we have embraced DEIB. On to the next slide. I'm doing this very quickly, please. So this is what somebody has said. This is a quotation from somebody. It says, truly exemplary boards are well-balanced teams that harness the diverse experiences, skills, and intellects of their directors to pursue the strategic objectives of the organizations they serve. They serve. Underline serve. When you are on a board, you are serving. You're not sitting. You no longer say, I sit on the board. I serve on the board. And it is about diverse skills and experiences. Diversity is important. On to the next slide. And so, this is a key trend in corporate governance. When we talk about board composition, we must be deliberate about the composition of our boards. We must be deliberate about how we put that, you know, the 12 apostles together for our organization. Boards must be diverse, must be more deliberately linked to the strategy of the organization. In order for us to deliver on the strategy of this organization, who do we need around the table? When we look around the table, how aligned are we to our stakeholders? And so board leadership on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging is paramount. And so when you look at your board, how does it look? Is it properly composed to deliver on the strategy of the organization? Does it look like its stakeholders? That is what DEIB is all about. On to the next slide, and I think the last one. So DEIB is not just something we have coined from somewhere. It is actually a human right. And it is what they now call ESG. It is actually part of the ESG agenda. And I have defined for you what the different pillars of ESG mean, and you will find that gender is at the center of the three circles. They're calling it gender equality. I prefer equity. Okay? So each board, what does this mean? Each board should have sustainability goals which include DEIB. And those sustainability goals should be linked to the strategy of the organization. On to the next slide. What is the business case for DEIB? There's increased innovation because we have different people thinking differently. Please don't fear the Gen Zs. When you have them on your board, they push you in directions you have never been pushed into. They help you think in a very diverse manner. I went to talk to a client of mine, and luckily they are not in the room. And they were a bank, and I asked them, who are your main customers? And they told me, those guys who've just left campus, you know, starting their first job. And then I age was 65. So I asked them, who tells you what these guys like? You need somebody around the room who feels and thinks like them. Yesterday, Christine and I were talking about disruptors on the board. Who is a disruptor on your board? You need somebody who just, you know, throws ideas there and you're thinking, where does this person come from? Because they help you think about things from a different perspective. So DEIB will deliver increased innovation, talent retention, improved decision-making, enhanced resilience, and market competitiveness, because they bring the market into the room. The different thoughts that the market will have will be represented on the board and therefore in decision-making. My last slide. So, what do we need to do in order to have DEIB? Equitable boards. Have targets. Have targets, hold yourselves accountable, and report performance. Targets with teeth. What are your DEIB targets? Create a safe and supportive environment for the women, for the youth, for people who don't look like us and speak like us to thrive. Embrace, encourage, and respect diversity, particularly diversity of thought. Don't hit them on the head when they come with an idea that you have never thought about, that you think is out of this world. Let them speak it. Then deliberate on it. Trust, absolutely important for DEIB. But with DEIB, you will always find conflict. Because these people come and you're like, hiya. Okay, fine, where do you come from? But sour. So there will always be conflict. But do you know how to handle that conflict? Foster belonging. Support them to succeed. Set the tone for inclusion, respect, tolerance. All of that will help them to be supported. And ensure representation reflects public interest, geographic population, and representative groups. Your stakeholder mapping. As I call Calvin to say a few words, because Calvin, you must earn your... Sorry, Calvin. Yes, sorry, Calvin. Last slide. I think last, very, very last slide. Do you discuss diversity in the boardroom? Do you ever discuss diversity in the boardroom? If you don't, there's something you're missing out. If you don't, there's something you're missing out. Or do you discuss it, under AOB? Huh? What about those domineering voices? And research indicates that women are interrupted 10 times more than men. How does the chairman control those domineering voices in the boardroom? Are you heard in the boardroom? Was this the last slide? Was there another one? Last. Okay, fine. Final. So, what is your definition of DEIB? Do you have a policy? And this is not just about boards. This is also about diverse teams. Remember, boards do not come from the forest. They come from the organization down there, right? So if we want more women onto the board, we must promote women through the pipeline. We must start developing leadership in our children. And that's why Women on Boards has the junior wing. By the way, if you have the young ones at home, right from around the age of 12, both boys and girls, they belong to Women on Boards. So please bring them, and we will develop their leadership skills so that they can grow up knowing that they belong in boards. What about yourself? Sometimes unconscious bias kicks in. You're actually excluding somebody, but you don't know you're excluding somebody. Sometimes Anne walks in and I'm like, this Kikuyu is just here to steal my money, eh? That unconscious bias. How do you deal with unconscious bias so that these people feel included? They don't look like us, they don't talk like us, but they feel included. When I have observed people being excluded, have I spoken up? Have I spoken up? Because if you speak up for them, they will speak up for you. What were the primary drivers? And what can I do to change it? Let's start DEIB at home, including with our spouses as we put our dirty clothes in the clothes basket, them they don't. Let's not harass them, that's part of DEIB. Let's practice DEIB at home, and DEIB in the workplace will be so much easier. Calvin.
Good morning. Good morning once again. Is it that I tend to be thrown under the bus quite often? I had no idea that I was supposed to be saying anything this morning. No, siko kwa program. And then for today, they didn't give me enough time to consult AI. No, this one they just made a slide. Good people, you have the program. I don't appear anywhere. Thank you very much, and I'm very, very happy to be seeing some of my senior colleagues in the room. Karibu sana. Now, something happened yesterday, and apologies for this. Something happened yesterday where I have a very strong team with me here, and not from Women on Board, but from my day job. And that team is Kenyatta National Hospital, which is very well represented in the room. So in being recognized yesterday, just a handful of them were recognized and a few others were left out. Please allow me to just ask them to stand up. It's a very powerful team of ladies. One of those, some of them were out, I'll just recognize them. This is Raheli. She's our head of nursing at the hospital. Dr. Okutoi is in charge of quality healthcare. Dr. Nyabanda is in charge of radiology and diagnostics. Evelyn Gishero and I work in the same office. She's a very serious lawyer in this town. And finally, one of my board directors, Catherine Kathure. Karibu sana. Please have a seat. Otherwise, I may not have had my job by the time I got back onto the more serious stuff that Catherine is talking about. I just have maybe 3 or 4 anecdotes to share, and then I'll sit down. One of my, I've had the opportunity to serve on both sides as an officer or as a CS, a corporation secretary facilitating boards. I have had opportunity to sit as a director on boards and also to chair boards. One of my biggest beefs when I'm wearing the one of facilitating the board as a company secretary is of good board members who sit quietly as bad things happen within the board. Unfortunately, there are a lot more than the ones who do something about it. And for purposes of restraining the conversation to the topic, especially on matters where people are being excluded, where there's no diversity, where there's no belonging, the good directors who sit quietly as others are being excluded. I just want us to reflect on that. And are we some of those directors? Do we do anything about it? And unfortunately, a lot of my experience is within the public sector, and the public sector oriented directors are the ones who tend to hold their peace almost always. They don't say anything, see no evil, hear no evil, and you just sit back. And you can see what is happening. So that's one of... Public sector public sector oriented is if you're sitting on a board of a public institution by virtue of another public position you hold. In other words, the PS National Treasury sits on every state corporation, but because it's not physically possible to sit, what does he do? He nominates an alternate. That alternate usually is an officer in National Treasury with a lot of experience. And sometimes 20, 30 years experience in the public service in a senior position, and you've seen it all. But then you now come to the board and bad things are happening, and what do? You just sit back, hold your peace. Maybe for good reason, but I wasn't I giving you my beefs? Yes, that's what I was doing. Number 2. One of the best things about decision making within the board, and again, let me use my experience as a facilitator for boards, and I've done this for many years. I would sit down, look at a paper from a colleague, pour myself into it, think through everything or every possible angle that that paper would have. There was a proposal that came for this and that. It is my work to collect it, refine it, package it, and then present it to the board. So in that combined effort, I would think we have actually thought of every possible productive angle to this paper. And then you take the paper, you place it before a board or a team of 9 directors. And then the thoughts that come out of it, you start asking yourself, okay, why didn't I think about that? And, oh, okay, there's another way of looking at it. Okay, maybe we didn't provide this, or maybe we didn't look at this angle. Where am I going with this? For many centuries, decisions have been made in the boardroom, and they continue to be made in the boardroom. Why is it still important? Why are we not innovated other ways of making decisions within organizations? It's because of perspectives, diversity, different ways in which you can look at the same thing. And for that reason, that's why you need diversity on the board. The multiplicity of human perspectives is unlimited. You would think, as a CEO, and most CEOs, we would think like that. We've thought about this, we've done everything, we've considered this. But then you hear some villager on the board saying, but did you think about this? I'm not talking about this villager here. There's another villager here. And it gives you a new perspective, a new way of looking at it. And that's why the boardroom remains the cauldron of decision making, even in modern day. Diversity. Number 3 is, again, in my experience, both in public sector, in private sector, and dare I say, perhaps make an unpopular observation today, even within the room, anyone who is on the board wants to be on more boards. Anyone who is not on a board wants to be on a board. If you listen to them keenly, the why, the usual perspective is, what can I gain, get, grow by being in that board? It's seldom, what can I contribute to that board? In other words, I am saying, we will continue mark timing on the same spot if the driver of why we want to be on the board is on how the board benefits us as opposed to how we benefit the organization. Again, it's an unpopular view, but again, wasn't I sharing my beefs with you? It is one of them. A lot of people, and this is not, maybe it's predominant in the public sector, but it cuts across. I want to serve on the board so that I can establish networks, so that I can add it to my CV, so that I can grow this and that. But are we asking ourselves, we want to serve on the board so that the organization is the better for it? Finally, there's an interesting podcast. It's called Financially Incorrect. Any fans in the room? All right, I can see a few. If you've not watched it, please find an episode and watch. Let me suggest one. A colleague of ours, a good friend of Catherine, has done is it a controversial interview? I don't know. She's done an interesting session where her name is Carol Musioka. The title of the podcast is Why I Quit Banking at the Peak. It's Financially Incorrect, the name of the podcast. In that session or podcast, she says, I will never serve on any other board other than the board of my organization. Now, what would bring, we've been talking about everyone wants to be on a board. What would make a sane human being with exposure say, I will never serve on another board? Because I don't want to give you the answer to that, I'll leave you to watch it. Is that fair enough? Is that fair enough? Or should I just finish the story? Spoiler alert. In other words, Carol says this, and I'm paraphrasing. I have had opportunity to serve in very, very many boards. what I realized after that exposure or experience or tour is that I was serving on boards promoting other people's dreams and serving other organizations' interests. And I was, in a sense, wasting my time. And for that reason, I'll never serve on another board other than the board of my own organization. Now, I reflected on that statement, and maybe not many people will identify with it, maybe because they've not had the chance she has had to serve on the many boards. But look at it this way. To serve as a director on a board is perhaps the cheapest form of labor you can get in the market. Elizabeth is my friend, and if she sits on your board and she brings her legal eye to the way you do things, do you know how much you would pay a lawyer for that job? But how much are you giving her a sitting allowance if you're giving her for a meeting? Just do that math. A good colleague of mine, Nelson Harvey, was asked, how can you criticize the government that you serve on the board of RBA? He asked them, do you know, and this is all on social media, on X in particular, he said, do you know how much of a sitting allowance they pay me at RBA? 20,000 per meeting, gross. When it is taxed, he goes home with 14,000. Now, for a lawyer of his repute, do you think 14,000 is good compensation for sitting with you for a whole day and sharing the totality of his legal mind? It is the cheapest form of labor in the market. Now, all I'm saying, and that's the thrust of my presentation, we want to serve on boards. Why do we want to serve on those boards? I say that while urging that boards must reflect the face of the key stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Calvin. Very good points to ponder there. Now, as we go to the next session, I want us to think about what is your personal brand. When people think about you, what do they think about? Because the next conversation we're going to be having is about strategic branding in leadership. As you build your legacy, what do you want people to think of you when they think about you? And to have this discussion, I'm happy to invite onto stage somebody who's been in the public sector. He knows a thing or two about strategic presence and personal branding. This gentleman is the founder of Crestwood Communications and Marketing. He has served as a CAS in the Ministry of Trade, Industrialization and Enterprise. And you know, he's so good at his job that when he left, 7 people had to come to fill in that position. If you know, you know. Google it. It was on our website, Citizen. 7 people had to fill his job. So he is very good at what he does, and he is a Chevening scholar. He's an expert when it comes to public policy. And he actually worked where I currently work. He was a radio personality, and he was grilling people on the hot seat, politicians. So be careful when you invite him for a duo. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Honorable David Osiani, HSC. Put your hands together for him as we talk about strategic presence and branding.
Hi, everybody. It feels nice to be just 3 men with all these beautiful ladies in the room. No, 4. Calvin, how nice does it feel? I want to sing a song that I know we all relate with. I'm looking for its lyrics. No, I didn't come to entertain you. 1 second.
As he checks for those lyrics, I hope you're Googling to see more about this personality who needs 7 people to fill in his job. Huh? Have you Googled? Have you seen?
Let me consult the bosses.
Okay, as we do that, we're talking about personal branding. What is your personal brand? Have you been thinking about that in those few seconds? What is your personal brand? Who wants to share? What do you think people think of you? Because it's one thing to think people think one way about you, but is that what is on the ground? Who wants to share? What is their personal brand? What is your personal brand? Why are we shy? Waithera, what is your personal brand?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Waithera Kabiru. Let me just stand up. So online, I go as the digital diva. So that is the essence of my brand. I'm passionate about digital transformation. I also happen to be a marketer. And it's something I've done even before digital was mainstream. So I got into digital, I think, in 2003, when, if you remember that time, the fiber optic cables were landing in Kenya, and we're getting all excited about going online. And that's when I started my journey, and I'm still in this journey. So even in my organization, they do call me the digital diva. And what's so funny is, and it's about, labeling an identity. And branding yourself. Recently, last week, we had this mandatory course in cybersecurity and that data privacy that everybody had to do. And I did it, and then you know how you sign the certificate online? I signed it as a digital diva. And then a few days later, I got onto a list of people who have not completed the course. So I had to fight with IT to change the certificate because clearly the system didn't know me as that. But that's just a short story. Thank you.
Clap for her. The digital diva, and in case you are trying to steal that, it's trademarked. Yes. Village girl, Mary Wamai, what is your personal brand?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Actually, I did not know. Me, I was just the village girl, and Calvin reminded me this morning. But I didn't know what I was. Because I was a CS and a director for strategy, then I became the group executive director for equity. I was a mother to my 3 girls. But what surprised me is when people told me what they thought about me and the impact that I was having on them. Unknowingly. I just thought I was doing what I was doing. And then someone I meet and they tell me, oh, Mary, when I was in the bank, my junior colleagues would tell me, we love what you're doing. And being where you are makes me also believe that I can get there. I haven't done anything. I've just done what I need to do. I've progressed, I've risen, but they are taking inspiration from me by watching what I do. And they want to be like me. But I did not know for a long time. But when I knew that, I started appreciating the power of mentorship. So now, I want to be the mentor to many, men and women, young and old, business people and corporate people. Because I mean, we all have lessons, and lessons are being learned by everybody. And that is why now I'm doing the Executive Table podcast, just to share the lessons and bring other leaders. Catherine has been there with a fantastic, Catherine is the most viewed guest on my podcast, the Executive Table. Because people are saying this is a very authentic story. And the other great thing, men and women are watching. You are not a mentor for women only. You are a mentor for all of us. And we learn every day from Catherine. Even me, I learn. So I think that's really the way I understand myself. Yeah, thanks.
Round of applause for that. Thank you. Let me take two more. Yeah, Taz, what is your brand?
All right, thank you. So, energy. I think that's doesn't matter time of day, day of year. You can count on energy. You can count on solutions. You can count on dependability, and you can count on care. And I think that is spread across, whether in my home life, at work, in any position that I hold.
One more. Pastor Angie, what's your brand? And you look lovely.
Thank you so much. And I thought you were going to call me. I was like, let me keep my head down, but it didn't work. Gosh, I don't know. My brand is, I think transformation is a big one. Transformation is a big one. I think I am called and created to transform lives. And the other thing, it's always generational. So when I encounter you, it begins to move into different generations. I think bold, authentic, vulnerable, that's all me. Thank you.
Dr. Nyabanda, what is your personal brand? Sikone?
I'll say an your name, but let me talk. You've heard that I'm a radiologist. And I think in my department is where people's anxiety levels are greatest. Because your doctor has told you there might be something. And I have to either rule it out or rule it in. So people are really anxious there. And so we do a lot of empathy as we look at people. But my passion is safe use of radiation. Because in my department, we give you radiation. And we are told that radiation is harmful. But for us, we are using it for peace. And so I do a lot of conversing on the safe use of radiation. And that's my passion. Thank you.
For that, I think we're good. Osiani, let's continue thinking about our personal brands, and we'll pick up that conversation.
Tawala Kenya, Tawala. Sing. Tawala Kenya, Tawala. Stand up and sing. Umetuongoza vyema. Peleka Kenya mbele. Tawala Kenya, Tawala. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the class on building brands that last. You just sang to one. The brand of Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi has outlived him. I am here to teach you, to discuss with you, to learn with you how to build a powerful and effective brand. My name is David Osian. Forget the prefix that precedes my name. I am not Mheshimiwa, but I am truly honorable, as I said to my friends. I am honorable. I'm a very honorable man. Two things before I begin. When Kenyatta was asked to stand, I met the team from Kenyatta yesterday. It's the head of nursing who wasn't with us, and Calvin. And I almost felt like standing alongside them because they are clients at Crestwood. We are handling communication and PR for them for the last 1 or so 2 months. So allow me to associate with Team Kenyatta. Secondly, I sat through as I listened to questions about what you want to be remembered for. It almost felt like being told to write the words you would love to see on your epitaph. 50 or so years from now, when you rest, because I want all of you to live long, what will your epitaph, what will your tombstone bear? What will it read? The journey to the words on your epitaph is a journey you cannot divorce from the brand that you build. It is in building an effective, memorable, strategic brand that you will give a lot of wealth to the words that will decorate your tombstone. Now, death is not something people talk about, but everyone wants to be remembered when they are gone. So this going is, they don't want to talk about it, but when they are gone, they want to be remembered. We want to talk about how to be remembered. What is professional branding? It's one thing to be a great professional. And I have seen excellent ladies and gentlemen who do their work with greatness, who are diligent at what they do, brilliant. But because they are not branded right, they vamoose, they just disappear on the face of the earth like they never existed, you know? So people will be saying, nyinyi hamjui. Nakwambia, that lady who has just retired, you should have met her. When she starts speaking about her legal practice or her capabilities or about radiology, or when she starts speaking about finance, she makes the complex look so simple. But it is not very meaningful if you want to be a memorable brand to just do that. And I will go with you step by step about and give you examples of women who demonstrate a few tenets or principles of professional branding. Number one about professional branding is authenticity. Now, I want you to know, next slide. Next. Boom. It is possible to be authentic and to be yourself without robbing yourself of compassion. It is possible to be authentic, to be who you are, yet still be extremely impactful. It is possible to be comfortable in your skin if you were born loud and you have a hearty laughter like mine. At Crestwood, everyone knows, they say, we know when chairman is around. Because we will hear his laughter from 300 meters away. Rambunctious laughter. And sometimes it looks very not corporate. You're told, no, don't laugh like that, please. It is possible to laugh out loud and be yourself even in a board meeting and still be impactful. Authenticity is a great bit because when you are trying to fake it, someone will tell it. If you're trying to fake it, it will be easy. It can pass for the first time, the second time, but on the third time, someone will blow up your cover. If you pretend to be friendly and yet you generally are not too friendly, yes, someone will be able to tell you're faking it. So if you love your personal space, it is possible to still love your personal space, but not to be cocky or arrogant or dismissive. The difference is in knowing yourself, then refining yourself, your authentic self, to be a great leader. What did I say number one is? Authenticity. Next slide. Performance. Now, brands are very hard to divorce from just a good job. Listen, excellence must be part and parcel of you. This closely relates with what I'll bring up next, but we are still on this slide. Whatever your hands find to do, please. I listened to Calvin speaking about observing great people do their things lackluster on boards. You know this person is experienced. You know they have it all. But they sit back and just watch. They don't want to ruffle the waters. They don't want to disturb it. Or they have immersed themselves. They've found the culture is one that is half-hearted. So they go into places and find the organization is a place where people do not love performance and excellence. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who is only 71 years young, is currently the Director General at the World Trade Organization, having previously served as the Managing Director in charge of operations at the World Bank. A role she did so well that when she was running to be the Director General of WTO, even though the Africans and other people may not really love Nigerians for perception's sake, they looked and said, lakini huyu ni mnoma. This girl knows her stuff. It would interest you that before that, in the male-dominated Nigeria, she had served as finance minister for 2 terms. performance and excellence. You can be as authentic as you wish, but if you are not a performer, you will not be remembered. Millie Odhiambo is authentic, but is the member of parliament presently who has the most number of bills behind her name. She will still be a clown when she wishes, and be loud when she pleases, but when she gets to do her job, she does it with rare excellence. What did I say number one is? What did I say number one is? What did I say number two is? I wanted to put Catherine either on point 2 or 3, then I refused. I said, I will look like I just want to make her feel good. But beyond your performance and excellence, we go to number 3, which is closely related. Critical thinking. Now, listen, it is one thing to do your job very well, but it is another to give solutions when they are needed. I don't know whether you know the answer. You can be a great singer, but you may not be the guy who, when the drum beats are silent, will innovate with a beatbox and go boom, 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 boom. That's a solution to hold off until the drum sets are on again. I find Rita one of the people who, over time, because of her unique mindset, and I say this with proof, and you know, having met people who have worked closely with her, having sat in some boards with her, having been a leader in part of the sector where she sits, you have to learn to think on your feet critically and give solutions that match the context. Remember, what works for you in your organization may not be what works for an SME. So if you work for General Electric and you're used to organizations where systems are working, and you find yourself in a board of an SME, don't come with your large corporate jargon to an MSME. The dynamics will be different. You can be as authentic as it gets, and you can be a great performer. But when you are tested where solutions are needed quick, thick, and fast, and you fail, you may water down your great brand. What did I say number 1 was? What did I say number 2 was? What did I say number 3 was? Number 4, next slide. Now, I tend to think that building brands is about refining yourself to a point you make it top of mind. When you wake up, a young lady in the university, and say, you're studying BCom, so who would you want to be like? And some of these people are a product of the previous 3. Village girl, this was not to make you feel nice. You all know that before the senator of Nakuru, Tabitha Karanja, got into politics, she was the to-go-to woman in manufacturing. You agree? You all have related with Jennifer Riria and you know the names. You know, I couldn't put everybody there. But for the different sectors, and it's because of how you're an authentic person, you've become such a great performer, you give quick solutions, and therefore you have a unique value proposition. There's something that if guys were to ask, who do we talk to? If the president is going to think quickly, give me 10, 15 ladies in the corporate sector, and if Mary Omai is on that list, it doesn't matter whether you love her or not, you'll just feel something maybe off. Not because you're not all great, but it's a journey towards there. Some have had the opportunity to rise, and there are factors that are coming after this that will distinct your ability. You look at Mary Ngechu in the manufacturing sector, who is a voice to reckon with, has been the chair lady of Women in Manufacturing, which is the women arm of Kenya Association of Manufacturers, and now sits on the board of KEPSA, and is her authentic self. And Isis Nyong'o, whenever you talk tech, and their ladies, and many of you, their names I may not all mention, but I want you to pick examples. What sets you apart? Now listen, when doctors go to college, they graduate with their bachelor's degree and are called general practitioners. Doctor, is that true? Then over time, when they go back to specialize and do their masters, they then become radiologists, they become gynecologists and obstetricians, they become cardiologists for the heart, they become pediatricians for children. Some even specialize in internal medicine. However, at the very rudimentary level of holding a bachelor's, if you have the spirit of excellence, you can be so good that even specialized people say, huyo experience yake ni noma, hana second degree lakini ameona. You just look at you and say, but as you go along in your journey, what I am saying about UVP, you want to focus on something for which you want to be known. Don't just be all over. Refine yourself and say, I want to intentionally be a guru in this field. When names are mentioned about apparel, I want to be the guy or the lady. When they talk communication, I don't want anything else. I want to be the person. Next. Positioning. You must learn how to position yourself right. How do you want people to perceive you? Do you want to be perceived as just the lady who wears Gabor shoes or Jimmy shoe? Or smells nice like I do? I have been a deputy minister in this country. God was gracious at a fairly young age and achieved a lot. I take time to observe people because of my public policy bent. One of the cabinet secretaries serving presently, when Gen Z had come and all cabinet members had been sent home, I remember telling him, I can guarantee the person coming back based off nothing but professionalism. He said, who? I said, Rebecca Miano. Why? I told him because another colleague, cabinet secretary of yours, told me that Rebecca has been intentional to read fairly widely about each sector. So whereas she was the minister for ESC, then, before tourism and wildlife, she immersed herself to generally understand each sector. Occasionally, therefore, the president would be asking a question about housing. And Rebecca would show up with some statistics that are not on the table that the cabinet secretary does not know. So much so that occasionally the president would naturally and unintentionally find himself asking, Rebecca, what do you think? What do you think? You need to know you cannot position yourself right if you have not embraced excellence as part of your DNA. By the way, it is very hard as a cabinet secretary, I was just a deputy, to find time to know something about other sectors. You really have to be intentional. Positioning. Position yourself right. Look at how she has positioned herself as a cabinet secretary. I am no politician. Mimi nimekuja kuchapa kazi. So as you hear others occasionally talking politics, because it's part of their DNA, you know, you all agree in the health sector. Someone like my friend Duale is very powerful, assertive. He's a mover, he's a pusher, he wants results, but he's a politician. He can't remove it from himself even if he wanted. So yataenda akimaliza, hao watu wanatuambia nini? Tunanyorosha kabisa. It's him, not Rebecca. I came here for results, transformation, I'm doing my gig. What did I say number one was? Number two. Number three. Number four. Value proposition. Even Mary has forgotten where she lies. Oh, this is 5. Oh, the numbering is wrong. Next slide. You're good students. Very good. Mwalimu agrees. Next slide. No, there are many more coming, so. Yeah. Listen, good ladies, show up and show off. What did I say? Whatever is beautiful cannot be kept under the bushel. If you know you're authentic, if you know you're a great performer, you're a critical thinker, you have a unique value proposition, you have positioned yourself right, please don't hide all that away from the world. Write articles on your LinkedIn pages that have solutions for the nation. Write op-eds, opinion editorials, send them to media houses as a professional. I am a finance professional if you are. Say, this are my sentiments about the management of public funds at the county level. Generalize, but give principles that are memorable, principles grounded on sound professional experience. Get on to social media, which is now running the world, whether you love it or not. I know corporates say, siwezani. And that's fine. If you've decided hauwezani, then don't aspire to be Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Just say, okay, mimi nitatosheka. Just being in my county of Migori or Kirinyaga, I'm happy. But if you aspire for more, to build a brand that inspires the young ones that are coming up, who want to look up and say, this is greatness and I want to pursue such. You know the way you see a nice private jet, forgive my elevated aspirations, you see a nice private jet and you say, just like that one, dear God. You too. So kama hiyo tu Mungu, kama hiyo tu. You must make a young girl who's blossoming in her formative years say, just like that, dear God. That's what I want to be. I want to be like Mary Wamai. Just Mungu hivyo tu. Visibility. I know a lot of us, and when you say ladies are interrupted 10 times more than men in board meetings, it's very hard. Because sometimes, you know, they're being disrupted because people have not seen what they're capable of. And it's a very sad thing. All of you hide. Hide. And so when you start to contribute, the people just imagine you're just another casual person who knows nothing about what they're doing. But man, if you are visible, by the time you arrive on that board, all of them watakuwa wameweka mkia, wamealign, wanasema, madam, what do you think? Oh, you think you're going to bully someone like Rita in a board? How? Or Catherine? My friend. It will be hard small. It will be hard no. I'm being told to get ready to leave. Next, so that I go. No. Personality. Very hard. Personality is what you make others think or believe that you are. How many of you know Sally Kosgei? Yeah, I can see Gen Z's not. How many of you? This is the only lady who's been head of public service in Kenya. The only female head of public service that Kenya has had. The next one will be when we become president. At this rate. No, it will happen sooner. What did I say? If you sit around Sally and observe, and you have to learn to observe. Sit and observe the people who have gone ahead of you with their experience. Sit and observe how they behave. You will see a blend of gentle, yet very shrewd and calculative, yet very firm and assertive. She knew and understood her environment. You go on and build a personality that you choose. You want people to perceive of you. How? I'll come when I don't have only 3 minutes. Personality. You must have compelling traits and characteristics, or you must show them, that make people carve you out and say, that's a strict person. Or, you know, I had a wonderful leader. I worked under Betty Minor, who was my cabinet secretary. And one thing I can tell you with Betty can herd. Unajua kuchunga ng'ombe? Betty can herd cats and put them in a line. She can just pick 100 cats and put them in a straight line. Very gentle. You would almost think that you can run over her. But because she is such a performer, she is so deep, she will get people towing the line. Now, you know me, I'm a bit pushy. So occasionally, when her style needed a bit of fist, she'd say, David, I'm going away for 10 days. You're the cabinet secretary while I'm gone. Niweke hawa kwa laini. Oh my God. You bet it would be done. Next. Presence. Which does not just become a product of anything. It becomes of the things I have said before. I want all of you to read about this lady, if you don't know her. I want you to go and watch her. Self-assured. If you want to know someone who is self-assured, when she walks in, she knows her stuff. She is not cocky, she is not arrogant. Oh, but man, she knows she is good at what she does. Compelling presence. Whether you speak or not when you arrive, you have to carry yourself with the mien that makes everyone not second guess you. Don't go into a board meeting and then just, just go in, hi people. Come on, walk in, be confident. Hello gentlemen, hello ladies, it's nice to meet you. My name is David, my name is Mercy, my name is whoever you are. Message, sorry I came late. When you arrive, they will just say, where? Be confident. Be confident. Be confident. Your presence must announce your arrival and your capability. And I pray, therefore, that your mouth does not reverse those imaginations. So you must ensure that your mouth and the brain are working together with your confidence and poise. Usikuje hapa na presence alafu ukiambiwa sema, unasema nothing in capital letters. So make performance your friend. Excellence, so that by the time they have believed, wow, this must be a very brilliant lady. This must be a very brilliant lady on our board. Now when you open your mouth, I beg you, and occasionally you know that if you know nothing, silence also makes you look very intelligent. So if you don't know, just keep quiet. And then say, now let me reflect a lot more about it. With a lot of confidence. Let me reflect a lot more on this one. Maybe, I think let's discuss it next time. Then you go do your research and come back fire. Next. I'm almost done. Self-concept is usually in branding and sometimes in corporate, sometimes not. You have seen Betty Murungi Orengo. You know her head scarf. You know that's her signature. That's self-concept. Margaret Kenyatta, her short hair with white on it. She didn't go to, you know, as ladies love, yeah. You know, if you see, there's a kofia that if you see, you will just ask, hey, huyu ni nani amevaa kofia ya Gabriel wa Mushomba? You also know that hat, right? Self-concept. Is there something? If you find me on a weekday, I don my suits with a pocket square. Signature. So if I don't have it, then something is wrong. Nimenyang'anywa barabarani, yeah? Pocket square is that ka piece of cloth you put in the pocket, right? It's called pocket square. Say pocket square? Now you know. Charles Njonjo had his pinstripe suits. What's your self-concept? Is it in the size of bags you carry? Ile tukipata tu tunajua, yuko. Ati hiyo si yake hapana, kunanga mtu anabeba kama hii. Nobody carries this kind of bag. This has to be her. Or your hair, you know, Rachel Shebesh had, her hair has her signature for the longest, or Gladys Wanga. In the corporate sector, self-concept is a beautiful thing. It defines you and makes you memorable. That's why Trump's hair is his self-concept. Duh. So create over time an outward definition of how you want to be known. I want to be known that this is my signature look. Create it. If you have never thought of it, start today. Finally, all these things we say and do them consistently and repetitively. If you want a self-concept, it only becomes that when you do it consistently. You know the way people met me today and they say, "Umevashatia uhuru." Self-concept. Consistently and repetitively. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a Christian. And as I have said before, those who have heard me speak, I love the Beatitudes. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. The Beatitudes are 8, so I'll add the 9th. Blessed is the speaker who speaketh short, for he shall be called to speak again. Thank you very much.
Awesome, awesome. I know there are many questions. Osiani, I want you to stay there to field questions. At our table, they're just like, they don't want you to stop. You can just go on and on, but we're time bad, so I'll field a couple of questions and then we'll continue the conversation. Who has a question that they'd like to ask? Oh, here.
Thank you so much for that talk about personal branding. And I'm thinking, I wish I had heard it 30 years earlier. So then the next question, when can one start working on their personal branding? Some of us are over 60, they're the young. So when do we rewrite the story, and how can we rewrite the story faster? Being that your age is a little...
Did I say how old Ngozi or Konjo Iweala is?
No, but perhaps they started working earlier, and I'm thinking...
The best time to start is yesterday. And it is possible to get these tenets and principles as a guide for you. On my free time, I also consult on image and personal branding. I am happy to, no, for you, I will not charge you, but I'll take that conversation.
All right, thank you.
I'm dedicating just 4 hours.
Thank you so much.
So you distribute them across, across time. Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Yes. So, sorry, Priscilla, but those 4 hours, if you could share with them with the Women on Boards Uganda, it would be great.
Okay. This is you extending my my freebies when I should cash in a bit. Given that this one, you know, Catherine is my mother's daughter. So, and Sema, we can't afford you, and that is true. No. But then I was happy to come. We will see how to go about it. But yes, it's possible today to start, and in 3 months, still get to be known a type of way. Those who have interacted with me online, especially on Facebook, know that I'm a totally different person on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Anyone who knows my Facebook name? Ah, very good, very good. Someone shouted, and they're right. Yeah, they call me Mwalimu for nothing else, yes.
Hi, Dave.
Yes.
It was nice having you
Thank you.
speak today. A quick one. As you were doing the presentation, I couldn't help but, tick the boxes and see everything that you're talking about. But then, again, there's this question that has been bogging my mind. As you do your branding, because just like she said, she might be 60, then some of us, probably you are still in the early stages of your career, you're trying to build a brand and all that. You feel it's, yes, it's okay, but you want to take it to the next level. But in that, as you build the brand, you've given an example, for instance, in leadership, you are this person who makes decisions quick, fast. Of course, most of the time you find yourself on the right track in those decisions. But then the people you lead, how does this then affect them? Because we are different in those spaces. So how do you then balance not being able to make those quick decisions, and we have different levels of understanding and movement as you build your brand?
Now you need to know that leadership is not always from the front. Sometimes you lead from the back. Leading from the back is coaching, mentoring. Leading from the front is guiding as they follow. So on occasions where your team seems not to catch up with your speed and capability, I'd advise that you try and lead from the back. Intentionally coach them a bit more on the need for speed, and how to do things in a manner that you like. And of course, sometimes you lead from the side. You walk with them. So lead from the back, lead from the side, and I think that should be all right. Nice. I can see non-verbal cues. Calvin is looking at his watch. He doesn't want to tell me. He's just looking at his watch so that I see that I need to leave.
Thank you. Just before you leave, thank you very much, Honorable Mwalimu. And you've spoken very, very powerfully about all the tenets of branding in leadership. And you've used very, very powerful examples. And actually, you're an excellent teacher. You've really brought home the message. But I'm wondering, when you use examples like the one you used that left me sitting, of President Moi against the lived realities that we know, and then talking about the tenets like performance, value proposition, authenticity, and his lived experiences and what we know. Is there a risk that you're going to dilute the message of branding, and are you not going to jeopardize? Because we know that some of those lived realities were not.
That's true.
Yeah. And therefore, when you use those examples, because you've carried us very well, but then me, I'm still left at the example you used, then I'm asking myself, yeah, where is the authenticity in that? Thank you.
Now, I must be quick to state, forgive the incongruence, take the lesson. Moi was used as a brand that has outlived its usefulness, not for being the right brand, but a brand nonetheless that stays on. Whether we love him or not, we remember him. However, please, as corporate leaders, know that a lot more is expected of you. Now remember, it's because of the lack of visibility and all these things by corporate leaders that the political class ends up being more visible, more memorable. I am therefore evoking this in us to be a lot more intentional, because if we follow these tenets, then it doesn't matter, 10, 20, 30 years later, people will still remember our impact. Bob Collymore is gone, but so very solidly remembered because of his personality, because of who he was. So I hear you, I am sorry, it means that's good feedback. Next time, but I don't know what will drive it home, because context is important. You know, when I go to Uganda, I'll get a context, something they can relate with, remember. So it was not an endorsement of his type of leadership. It was an endorsement of the success of the brand. Sawa sawa?
Okay, now we'll take the two other questions. We are bad on time. Mary, your question, Beatrice, and then there was one more. Let's keep it short. We'll keep the conversations going, but we are bad on time.
Okay, so I think I'm next. So thank you so much. Very, very illuminating. I'm trying to tick the boxes already. But I just have one question. How do you wade through the pressure to conform to what people know or expect? And I'll give you an example. So when I started the podcast, for those who saw the first episodes, I was wearing Jonjo's suit, pin-striped suit. And then I met a friend for lunch, and she was like, who does a podcast in a pin-striped suit? Why? Because probably they are used to seeing podcasts in other forms. The way I do my podcast, I probe, because I want to get the lessons out. I'll ask Catherine direct questions, and we'll have a debate, and we'll laugh when we need to. And then some people will tell you, but you are too noisy. You love talking. Why can't you allow the guest to speak? This I don't know who is asking me, because it's on the channels. I have no idea who. So how also do you segment the audience? Because I guess some people love that, others don't love it. Some people love the suits that I wear. That one nimekata. Nimesema, love me or hate me, I wear a suit in one form or another. So I guess those are some of the things that come, the conflicts with the audience maybe, or your followers. How do you address them?
I think professional guidance is sometimes helpful. Those of us like yourself who are trailblazers in other sectors must sit with professionals in the sector they are exploring. Now, you may not be a professional in media or audiovisual, but you're such a great professional. And then the other thing, you have such a wealth of knowledge and experience that whereas you're the interviewer, you may find yourself chiming in because you know it, you've seen it. However, from a professional audiovisual media perspective, if you went through a bit of guidance, they'd say, now when you start your podcast, these are the principles of running a podcast. Naturally, and Claire will agree, whenever you go on media, they will tell you, don't do polka dots and don't do pinstripes because of possible distortion. And they will tell you, when you're on media, you don't, when you're probing, you say, so what is your experience in this area? And you let the other person go. You're not even allowed to do, Oh, because from a communication training, you know that you are eliciting feedback. But it sits differently for interviews on set. However, do not let people define you. So just seek professional guidance. And once you have it, perceptions are going to be many. People have ideas. They know everything about nothing. So don't let them shut you down. Keep at it. That's how you will build a solid and memorable brand. So just seek professional guidance and then go. This is how I want to dress. This is how I want to look. Yeah. Next question.
Yeah, let me go next. Thanks, Dave. Happy to meet you again.
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Beatrice. I've listened to all the tenets you've given, and I just want to share an experience that I had last week. We lost one of the leading fintech,
Yes.
a top brand in the country, and I'm sure maybe a number of us came across it. Yeah. Now, what I learned through that process is that Leon, so the name of the gentleman is Leon. He was very young. He was, he had made it. He was with me in the banking sector. Then he transitioned to the fintech sector. But when I listened to all the eulogies and all the feedback that people were giving about him, is that beyond being a refined blend, in the fintech industry, in the banking industry, is that he was a people person. And that stood out as the blend he was. He was not inward looking, much as he was very refined, he was very knowledgeable, he was seen and heard. He met all these traits that you've given, but what stood out was that he was outward looking. He was about impacting people, he believed in people, he was about lifting people. So I think for me, it's to say, to crown it all is the humanity aspect.
Personality. Be humane. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. That was a good contribution. Was there a last
question over there?
All right. Thank you, David, for your presentation today. I interacted with a research article based upon the Kenyan and African context as far as women in leadership is concerned. And this article, the research went ahead to highlight the life cycle of women leaders within organizational corporate settings, which typically goes entry level, middle level management, senior management, and before they could get to C-suite, there is an exit, which introduces a concept of a brand life cycle, which appears to be cut short. And then what then would you advise for women who find themselves in a setting where they need to reinvent their brand or begin a whole brand life cycle altogether?
As I said, over time in your career, as you demonstrate your value proposition, it becomes very hard to be done away with. Once you demonstrate visibly, and that's why I talk about these tenets as a wholesome package. Because a lot of C-suite ladies would want to, they're great at what they do, but when they're told come for these task forces by government, they're not even be anywhere to be identified. So we have to keep bringing the same ones we know. Now look at Rita Kavashe, for example. All right, let me give a few examples. Chair Kenya Roads Board, Chair NTSA Board, member Vision 2030 Board, member of KEPSA. So you end up with 11 roles because there's this one visible person who keeps demonstrating their value proposition. Sometimes it just takes showing up and showing off. And once you have demonstrated your capacity and capability and you have cut a niche for yourself and become a household name, whether you like it or not, no one's gonna kick you out. Remember the late Judith Ongori, who just anchored herself as a family lawyer. It didn't matter how many family lawyers were in town, but when Judith showed up, it was case closed. So my advice to young, entry-level, middle-level executive before getting to C-suite is, as you grow, just be out there. That's why I say it's going to be very hard to fire Sylvia Mulinge. I mean, she's C-suite, but even before, because of these things, people take for granted when I tell them, be visible. As a teacher, teach well and show up. Let people know that on every Thursday you will share nuggets on what a great teacher should be like. And over 2 years, from just a few followers, guys will start saying, you see, like Janet Ouko, who matters education, it does not matter. What watasema, call her. Task forces are set by government, Janet Ouko. Not because she might be the greatest, but she's the most visible in that space. So visibility is a tenet. And just to wind up, I worked with, I was tasked by the WHO to support Kenya during the COVID period on behavior change communication, wash your hand, blah, blah, blah. And I was leading the technical team. So I worked very closely with Dr. Amoth, not a lady, but perfect example. At the time, he had been the acting director general of Health. He acted for almost 6 years. But we ensured that we branded Dr. Amoth so well that when he went to the World Health Assembly, when we started conversations like Ask the DG, conversations on health, his colleagues were saying, man, that's an innovative idea. How did you do that? And when it was time to elect someone from the Eastern Africa bloc, which runs all the way to Madagascar, they just said, you will be the vice president of the WHA Assembly. Now, look at what ended up happening. When he arrived in the country, because those offices are a bit political, everyone wants to take the office. So there had been plans to shove him off. Now you see, he comes back so he's crowned king out there. Kenyans start asking, Yani at a World Health Assembly have made this guy vice president, but at home, he is acting. It becomes very hard to do away with an excellent person. So build your performance capabilities, but be visible, so that by the time you are removed, everyone is like, you're kidding me. How? Who? No way. The next client is waiting, the next organization is waiting to harvest from that chopping off. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to do me one thing. My number is here. I want you to take it and I want you to send me a message with 3 details. Number 1, your name. Number 2, the organization that you work for or with. But most importantly, I want you to send me a message with which of the tenets you found most relatable. It's a very important part of my feedback mechanism, and it's also a very excellent way of sharing my cards with you, like I have done. Number 1, your name, full names, the organization you work for or with, and which of the tenets of professional branding you found most relatable and most impactful. Until then, ciao, ciao.
Thank you so much. What a powerful presentation there from Osiani. So performance and visibility matters. And that's what we do at She Means Business. We amplify the voices of women. Now we are time bad, so what I want us to do is to take 10 minutes exactly of a health break, and we're going to take our snacks from inside here. So, yes, clap, clap, Rose, factorial clap.
Flowers. The flowers.
He's leaving? Okay. All right. We'll organize for his kids. But as we are doing that, please, let's stand up and give him his flowers. The 5. So we'll do the 5. Please start going to your garden and collect flowers. Let's flowers. We put down the first one, go. Collect your flowers. 2. Collect flowers. 3. Collect flowers. Bigger bouquet. A bigger one. 4. All right, the best bouquet now. So go around, collect all the nice flowers you have left. Put it together for a big 5. Go. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rose, for that. We appreciate that. So because of time, I would like us to take exactly 10 minutes of a health break and then get our tea, coffee, and we will take that from here and go to the next session. Okay, so 10 minutes, exactly 10 minutes. What's the time right now? Okay. So it's 11:16 right now. So in the next 10 minutes, 11:26, let's all be back here